This is Gladys Wyatt, a rebellious teenage girl who lived in Portland, Oregon about 100 years ago. This is her story, pieced together from newspaper articles, census records, and public archives. Gladys was born in New Mexico in August of 1904, the sixth of 8 children born to Alan and Melissa Wyatt. The Wyatt family traveled around the country in the early years of the 20th century, before finally settling in a large house in North Portland. Her father held many jobs: a salesman, carpenter, factory worker, and proprietor of a restaurant. Gladys was only 15 years old when she first made the news on September 26, 1919. The Oregonian reported that she had run away along with 5 of her classmates, 3 boys and 2 girls. The children skipped out of class at the Peninsula School and took an electric train out of Portland. According to the Oregon City Enterprise, their plan had been to hide in the wilds of Oregon until they were given up for lost. The boys had visions of a life of untrammeled freedom, while the girls hoped for a series of unbroken triumphs on the screen. Gladys and the younger girl, Jessie Day, had cut their hair short and changed into gingham dresses as a disguise. They ran out of money when they arrived in Oregon City, so they set out on foot into the wilderness. 2 of the younger children decided to head back home after a night spent outdoors. The rest were caught the following day in a grove outside Mueller after being spotted by some suspicious local farmers. The children were brought back to Portland and questioned by police, and the girls soon admitted to having robbed a number of local businesses before leaving town. Gladys and Jessie confessed that they would work as a team, one girl distracting the clerk by asking to use the phone, while another would pilfer money or valuable items. Among the items stolen were a bathing suit and a Tam O'Shanter-style hat, as well as over $200 in cash and bonds. Gladys's accomplice, 13-year-old Jessie, gave spirited testimony in court. When asked why she stole money, Jessie replied, "Everyone is profiteering these days, so why shouldn't I steal?" Jessie was sentenced to a term in the State Industrial School for Girls in Salem, while Gladys was likely sent to a different institution, but this detail is unknown. Gladys's family was recorded in the 1920 census, but her name was crossed out, possibly because she was still serving her time elsewhere. Gladys was back in the papers in April 1920 after she and another girl, Margaret Davis, escaped from the Portland Juvenile Courtroom after serving 2 weeks in the Fraser Detention Home in northeast Portland. They fled the area, still wearing their detention uniforms, and immediately set out to obtain some better clothes. They burglarized several houses, stealing jewelry and fine things, before getting caught robbing the home of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Weeks after a concerned neighbor called the authorities. Police found them in a closet, changing into the stolen clothing, and Gladys was taken back to the Fraser home for an unknown term. Later that year, a brief article in the Oregon City Journal stated that Gladys and a neighbor girl had failed to return home following a ride in an automobile with 2 boy companions. Shortly thereafter, she was sent to the State Industrial School in Salem in March of 1921. She made an attempt to escape by swimming up a nearby stream, but she was quickly caught and returned to the school. She escaped again 2 months later and went on the lam for a full week before being apprehended in Portland. A few days after that, some women's clothing was found discarded near the Sandy River Bridge past Troutdale, along with a newspaper dated May 22nd and an envelope addressed to a Miss Clara Frock, a former resident at the Fraser home. But as Clara was institutionalized at the State Institute for the Feeble-Minded at that time, no one knew who these items belonged to or how they got there, but there were rumors that they were left there by Gladys while she was on the run. After being returned to the industrial school, Gladys was soon transferred to the Cedars, a women's detention facility near what is presently McMenamin's Edgefield near Troutdale. Gladys was sent back to the Fraser home until she escaped again in January 1922. She'd been detained in the isolation ward there, reportedly suffering from diphtheria, when she made her daring escape despite the freezing temperatures of a harsh northwestern winter. 2 days later, she married a man named Edward Brodigan in Vancouver, Washington. She lied about her age on the marriage license, putting down 18, though she was still only 17. Edward, her new husband, had been sentenced to 6 months in the county jail just a day before for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Their marriage announcement in the Oregon Daily Journal on January 19, 1922, is the last known mention of either person in any newspaper. What happened to Gladys after that is a bit of a mystery. It's not known if Edward served his time in jail or if they fled together. Gladys's younger sister, Evelyn, was born 2 weeks later. Census records from 1930 showed that she was not residing with her parents nor with Edward, whose marital status was noted as single by that time. By 1940, her older sister Frances was a single mother, having been at least twice divorced, and was listed as living with her sister, a Dorothy G. Fraser. It seems likely that this Dorothy was actually Gladys, living under a different name. There's no record of her ever marrying anyone named Fraser, so it may be notable that she chose that as her alias after spending so much time in and out of the facility of the same name in her youth. Gladys would live until 1962, according to the family headstone in the Rose City Cemetery, but the cemetery had no record of her in their database, meaning it's likely that she was buried elsewhere. What happened to her after she escaped on that day in 1922?
That's all.